Hey guys, this is your next lesson in your linear equation quick unit. So we're actually going to talk about slope and y-intercept today. You're not going to be graphing today. You're actually going to be looking at graphs and trying to identify two different things for me. So we're going to start with explaining what slope is. So slope is actually a ratio that describes the tilt, or I like to use the word how steep a line is. So the biggest thing that you need to remember about slope is rise over run. The second I hear the word slope, rise over run just like screams in my brain because teachers drilled that into me. So what that means is you want to compare the steepness of the line going up or down compared to it going left or right. So what that means is, and I'm going to show you this more in depth later in the video, but you want to compare two different points on the line. So let's say I have these 2 points identified. In order to figure out the slope of this line, I have to compare the difference between these 2 points. So how do I get from this point to this point? So if you notice, it goes down 2. So down is going to be negative, so -2. And then that's compared to going 1, 2, 3 to the right. 3 to the right is going to be positive. So the slope of that line is actually -2/3. Okay, and I'm going to do it a couple times. Hopefully you'll pick up on it. You're literally going from one point to another and doing rise over run. To give you a better picture of what slope is, I like to think about it's how steep a line is. If you have a graphed line that is completely horizontal or flat, this actually has a slope of 0. It doesn't have a slope. It's not steep at all. It's just flat. So if you notice, as you go up from this line, all of these slopes of all of these lines that I graphed, if you notice, they're increasing. It goes from 1/4 to 1/2. The red one has a slope of 1. Slope of 2, slope of 3. So the steeper the line gets, the greater slope it has, okay? It makes it steeper. That's just to give you like an idea of what slope is and how it's talking about how steep a line is. This probably all seems really weird, but we'll get there, hopefully. So there's a couple different types of slopes. And these are read just like you read words. You start at the left and you work your way to the right. So if I have a line that's going up from left to right, like I start here and look this way, notice the line is going up or the skier is going uphill. That's called a positive slope. It's going up. Same thing. It's if I have the opposite. If I'm looking at it from the left to the right, the line's going down from left to right, that's going to be a negative slope, okay? The line's going down. The other two types of slope, I already talked about having a slope of 0. If it's flat, there is no slope. There is no steepness, so it would just be 0. And then this, I always like how it says help. So this slope, the vertical line going straight up and down, that's actually called an undefined slope. The slope does not exist, okay? So that you really can't have. So if you ever see a line going straight up and down, just straight out say undefined, doesn't exist. So now we're going to work on finding some slopes. I'll go over the y-intercept in 1 second at the end here. It's like super easy. But so slope is the hardest one, so we're going to work on that first. So I have some steps here for you to follow. So finding the slope. Notice I have rise over run up there because it's the most important thing. So we're going to pick 2 easy points on the line. I always like to pick points that are going through an actual number. You obviously don't want to pick a fraction. So you want to find it right on the grid, and this one's easy. I'm going to pick this point here and that point right there on the line. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to count the rise or the up or down. So I'm going to go from this point. I'm going to use a different color. Let's go from this point here to the other point. So I'm going to count the up or down. Well, if I go from this point, I'm going to go up 1. Okay, so I want up 1. So up is positive 1. And then I'm going to go to the right 1. Right is positive 1. So then I put that as a fraction. 1 over 1. Obviously, I should simplify that. 1 over 1 is 1. So the slope of this line is 1. Okay. And then the y-intercept. Steps to find the y-intercept. You want to find the value where the graph line hits the y-axis. So the y-axis is the one that is going up and down. So you want to see where the red line connects with it. It connects with it at 0. The y-intercept is 0. Okay, so the y-intercept, you literally just have to look at the graph. You don't need to do any math. The slope is going to be the one that is definitely the bigger struggle. Okay, so let's try another one. Okay, so pick 2 easy points. This one's pretty easy. And then like this is an example. I wouldn't do that one right there because notice it's at 2.5 for the y. And you all know I don't like fractions. I like whole numbers. So I'm going to do this one right here. Okay. So I always like to start at the left and then go to the right. So we're going to count the rise between those 2 points. So I would go up 1. So that's a positive 1. And then I go 1, 2 to the right. So that would be a positive 2. So I need to put rise over run. So the slope equals rise of 1 over run of 2. So the slope is 1/2. Okay. So then y-intercept, and you can abbreviate that y-int. Where does the red line connect with the y-axis? Well, it hits it right here at 1, so the y-intercept is 1. Okay. Next example. Oh boy. What does this mean? You actually don't even need to do this. This is actually undefined. It is straight up and down. Can't do that slope. Next example. So always pick 2 easy points. Here's an easy point, and then here is an easy point. Okay. So rise over run. So I'm going to go 1, 2, up 2. So that's a positive 2. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 to the right. So that is positive as well because right is positive. So the slope is rise over run 2 over 3. The y-intercept, where does the red line hit the y-axis? Oh, it actually hits it at 1. I use that point. So the y-intercept is 1. Okay. Going to do a ton of examples for you, so the more you see it, the more you pick up on it. So let's do some slope. Pick 2 points. Guess that one and that one looks pretty close. Not perfect, but close enough. Okay, so rise over run. So it's going to go 1, 2, up 2. So that's positive 2. And then it goes to the right 1. So positive 1. So the slope is 2 over 1. And I'm hoping you know that simplifies to 2. So your slope is 2. And then where does the red line hit the y-axis? Oh, hits it at -1. Okay. Ooh, flat one. So you don't even need to do this. This has a slope of 0. What is the y-intercept though? Hits it at -2. So slope of 0, y-intercept of -2. Okay, one more example and then I'm going to have you try some on your own. I do have another Google slide that you can move the dots around and put them where you want them and use that to count. Okay, so rise over run. Let's do our slope. So pick 2 easy points. This one looks good, and then that one looks good. Okay, so I'm going to start at the first point from the left, but this time, notice, I have to go down twice. So this one's going to be a little bit different. So this is down, so it's -2. And then I go to the right once, so that's a +1. So that would be -2 over 1. I'm hoping you know -2 over 1 is the same thing as -2. And notice our slope is negative, but remember how I talked about if you're reading it from the left to the right, notice the line does go down. So your slope should be negative. So it's always good to check and keep that in mind. And then our y-intercept looks like it's at +2. Okay. This will all make sense tomorrow, but as long as you can do this, tomorrow will be easy. If you have questions, if you want me to talk you through some more, let me know. Other than that,